Yes, the movie is Cabrini, and it's from Angel Studios. It's directed by Alejandro Monteverde, who directed Sound of Freedom. And this is the story of Mother Cabrini, a saint from New York. She was an Italian mother, Italian nun, who uh, who wanted to open orphanages, primarily in China. And when she went to the Pope, he said that she couldn't go to China; she had to go to America. And so she was brought to New York City, where there was at that point. This is kind of like around the turn of the century, early aughts, and I believe. Uh, and at that time, there's great prejudice against Italians, and her being Italian didn't help it either. And she basically goes through the town and finds orphans, finds kids who need parents. She runs into sex workers and decides that she needs to help them all. And most of the movie is about her battle against corrupt New York politics. The mayor at that time was Mayor. I don't have the name here. Mayor Gould, played by John Lithgow, and so the story is basically about this nun who wanted to do good, and ran up against corruption, ran up against prejudice, and ultimately reached her goal by never taking no for an answer. And Mother Cabrini was the first saint, the first American saint. And I think that I interviewed the producer Jonathan Sanger of Cabrini, and that was what drew him to the story, was the fact that she this was an amazing woman who was an activist, also was very compassionate. She self-sacrificed, she volunteered herself for good work, for God's work, and through faith found a way to accomplish the goals that God had put in front of her. And so this is put out by Angel Studios. You can get free tickets through their pay it forward plan, or you could buy a ticket and then pay it forward for someone else. In terms of like the other films we've seen come out of Angel Studios, this one's very much a biopic. This kind of reminds me of an old Catholic version of The Godfather. It's just got that kind of tone and style to it. It's very much a period piece, and it's told very much like a biopic, where it's just like point A to point B to point C. It's like those biopics that they would show us in high school, at school, just to kind of tell a person's story. I think I do like the positivity about it. I do like the fact that if you see it, you're supporting the work of Angel Studios. It's a good movie. Great performances um, by let's see, what's her name, Christiana Deliana as Mother Cabrini. David Morse is in it as a bishop, and John Lithgow as the Mayor Gould. I kind of, when I've watched Angel Studio films, they tend to be much more action oriented, weirdly enough, for a faith film. This one's very much more laid back and more the biopic tone to it. So it's like reading a biography, and I think people who like that, who just want to see a good person's life. Apparently Mother Cabrini's name is all over New York, and this is her story, and that's kind of why this movie exists. So yeah, I'd give it a 7, and I thought it was pretty good. Yeah,
All right.
yeah. It's
I don't
just
know. Just
when I think of like Sound of Freedom, there's a powerful message there, and a powerful, intense emotion. This movie is very different from that. It's a story about a good woman who overcame the odds to accomplish what God wanted her to do.
well, I look. I appreciate Angel Studios and what they're doing. They're
Hmm.
putting out movies that Hollywood probably won't make anymore,
Hmm.
unfortunately. So I support them for that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it with Ordinary Angels last time.
Yeah, yeah.
These stories of volunteerism, stories of charity, stories of self-sacrifice. Why don't we're not telling those stories anymore?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were a big deal in the '80s, '90s, and early aughts, early
Right.
2000s. Um, and that's the thing, is activism is now done through social media. People just sit there and are
Right.
outraged, and they become activists, as opposed to Mother Cabrini, who was an activist and acted upon it. That she wanted to save children. So what she do? She went out and saved children,
Actually
rather
did
than
it.
rather than post a video about it and then cry about what the evils going on around the world. I remember growing up at church, the idea of sending missionaries out to countries that were pretty hostile to them, but they knew that that was their calling, and they went and did it. And that's what I like about this story. And I wish we told more stories like this today.
All right. So do you recommend Cabrini?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think it's kind of sad. The director did Sound of Freedom. This is very different from it, and I don't think you're gonna get the intensity of that, but I think you're gonna get a great story out of it.